Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good morning. I hope everyone can see me okay. I hope everyone can hear me loud and clear. I know I look slightly different today. I am using some backup equipment for this morning stream. I'm sorry that I couldn't be here yesterday. I missed you guys, but I'm very excited to jump in to today's challenge and kind of give you guys the rundown of what our themes and stuff are going to be for the next couple of weeks, and kind of dive into the project. I'm super excited. I see so many familiar faces in the chat. I see Sam, I see Anthony, Steve, Julia, Alberto, Jay, Ron, Ishant, Jui. Thank you so much, folks, for being here. You can see and hear me. I am so excited. Thank you so much, folks. So since we didn't get to do an intro stream together yesterday, we are going to be jumping directly into our challenge number 1. But before we do the challenge, I'd like to go over quickly over some points of how you folks can get involved in the challenge with me, where you can find all of the information for the challenge, and also I want to say if you folks are over on YouTube and you're wondering where are all these people that Val is greeting, who is she saying hi to? I can't see them over in this chat. You will need to come over to behance.net/live so that I can see your comments and your messages, and so that you can join the party over here on Behance. So if you're over on YouTube, definitely head over to Behance.net. I see Sig is saying he's only here for a few minutes today. Well, Sig, you can always watch the past broadcasts. As always, we have all of our videos archived over on the YouTube channel. Or if you folks are on Behance right now, if you actually scroll below the video player, we have all of our broadcasts archived and organized by category, which is cool. And then I'm also going to show you another way that you can review the challenge videos specifically. So, first of all, before we jump in, I am going to pull up our schedule because I'd like to go over what we have planned for the day. I'm not going to be the only designer on, and I definitely want you folks to stick around for all of the other designers and give them some love and give them some support for today. So I'm going to pop over here. We had Getting Started in Illustrator with Alex Lazarus this morning, which is awesome. We have a video daily creative challenge going on this week with Jason Levine, who is a fabulous human, and it's also really special that we get to do a daily creative challenge for video stuff, which is awesome. So all of you video lovers and people who like to edit and create in that way, definitely check out the past VODs for those videos, and try and tune in every morning at 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, because those are pretty exciting. I'm going to be here all week and all next week at 9 in the morning for the Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge. Following me is going to be a hand lettering segment for Monday and Tuesday by Rihanna Marie Chan, which is awesome. We have the one and only Julia Masalska doing the Illustrator Daily Creative Challenge this week, which is awesome. Pablo Stanley will be here after her at about noon Pacific time for some web design, followed by Peter Del Tondo doing the Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenge. And then we're going to round off Monday and Tuesday with Design in the Dark with our friend Andrew and Jordan. So very excited for what we have coming up today. I hope you folks will stick around and hang out and check out the other segments as well. And now I'm going to jump over to the landing page for the Daily Creative Challenge for Photoshop, and try and kind of walk you folks through how you can get involved with me. Did you check out my design off, Voodoo Val? I have yet to check out Twitter and Instagram for the day, so I will. Thank you to everyone who's been participating in the design offs. You folks are awesome and wonderful. I love seeing your art. So let me jump over here real quick. This is the landing page for the Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge. If you go to behance.net/challenge/Photoshop, it'll bring you here. You'll know you're in the right place because it has our date up here at the top. So we're going from August 17th to August 28th for this 2-week challenge. And if you scroll down here, you'll notice that number 1, you get a little 1 through 4 of how does it work. And you also will see that every day, or every weekday rather, our challenges will be unlocked to you. We only have challenge number 1, and today what we're going to be working on is a mood board. Our entire 2-week spread of challenges, you guys know I love to add themes, and we're going to do supervillains and superheroes. superheroes. So all of you folks, you can either design according to heroes and supervillains, or you folks can choose a side and theme all of your designs off of that side, or the first week you can do heroes or villains and then do the other for the second week. So you guys can definitely plan out how you want to do this. Sarah saying, what happened to you yesterday? I had a computer malfunction yesterday, unfortunately, which is why I look a little different today. I've got some of my backup equipment in use, but don't worry, I'm going to be crispy and clear tomorrow once I get some of my stuff replaced. And I did miss you yesterday, guys, so I'm sorry that I couldn't be here, but I'm back. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to rock, and I'm super excited to be designing for you today. Bring back the hair, maybe, Sig, maybe. You guys know I love to dress up for these challenges, so we might just get some Val hair going on and a couple costumes. You know, we may, I don't know. I can neither confirm nor deny what my superhero or supervillain alter ego will wear on any given day during these challenges. So keep an eye out. So this is where you can find the challenges. You can also post the challenges that you create and interact with other people who are doing the challenges if you head over to the Discord. So if you go to bit.ly/PS Discord, this is the link that you will need to go to in order to join, making sure that P and that S are capitalized. If you don't capitalize the P and S, you may go to the incorrect server, so definitely make sure to get this URL correct, and that will actually bring you to, I'm going to page down here and I'm going to jump into our Discord. Ta-da! So at the beginning of each day that we have a daily creative challenge, you will notice that in the announcements read-only channels, there's a creative challenge channel, and that channel will actually have the image of the day's challenge followed by a little bit of information about what we're going to be doing. You guys will get links to the starter files I've created for you. You'll get a link to the Behance live page so that you folks can check out the live stream, and you'll also get a link to the VOD. So if you tune in to the Discord or tune into the stream a little bit late and you'd like to begin from the beginning, you can always find the archived video here and watch it from start to finish. What's up, RB? It's good to see you. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for posting that link, Sam. That's awesome. Again, if you're over on YouTube, you definitely want to head over to behance.net because that is where our wonderful friend Sam is posting all of the resources for you folks that I'm talking about. So that's how you join the challenge. That is how you jump into the Discord. Now, without further ado, let's jump into our challenge. So if you actually, I'm going to pull up this page one more time. If you hit get started on that landing page, it will take you to a page where you can download the starter files specifically for this challenge. And if you do that, you will get a file that looks like this. This is the starter file number 1, and what we're going to be doing is creating mood boards with the use of artboards in Photoshop. So any of you folks out there who are maybe more familiar with things like Illustrator, who use artboards a lot, this is kind of the challenge for you because it's jumping into Photoshop with maybe some things that you're a little more familiar with. But if you didn't know that there are artboards in Photoshop or you've never used them, this is going to be an awesome tutorial on how to kind of organize those, how to use them, how to move them around. And then I'm going to jump into some interesting points on how I like to create serious mood boards for projects when I get started doing something new. So I have this file for you, as I said, and it's got artboards and they're all organized and everything. I've got some colors in here for you that I picked, just some cool colors I thought would be interesting for villains if you choose to go the villains route for these challenges. And I've got some hero colors for the same purpose. I've got a few fonts in there that I thought were interesting. And then in the reference section, which I would like you folks to populate on your own, I've got a little brief introduction of the challenge. So it says challenge number 1. use the Artboard tool to create an organized space for a mood board / style guide. Populate the boards with inspiration of your choosing. Now you can follow along with me with this file. However, if you would like to kind of deviate from what I'm doing and organize things your own, start your own file new on your own, that's totally fine. I'm also going to show you how to start with a blank file and make it an Artboard file, just in case you folks don't know how to do that. So if I go File, New, it'll pull up my little new folder over here. And I can say, maybe I want to go, usually I go into pixels here. So if you only see inches or you see something else here, you can always click that drop down menu. I'm going to select pixels. And maybe for this mood board, I'm just going to make a square that's just 2000 by 2000 pixels. And I'm going to make sure I click Artboards here. Okay, now there's a lot of other things that you can do with your artboards here. You can change the color mode, you can change the bit number, you can change the background, so you can change to black, to a color, to transparent. You can do a custom kind of thing if you want. I'm going to leave just white for now, and you can also come into the color profiles and the aspect ratio and all that good stuff. For resolution, whenever I start a new project, for me personally, I like to always make sure that my resolution is at a minimum of 300 because I never know when I might want to print something out. And so for those of you who maybe don't print, maybe it's not so important that you have a 300 resolution, but I like to print out my things for conventions, and I never know if I'm going to make something that I really like, that I definitely want to produce to sell in some way. So I always leave it at 300 because that's the minimum you need for a good print. So I'm going to say create. And now I have this new file, and you can see here I have a little kind of collapsible file that just says Artboard number 1. Now I can rename this. I'm going to name this Fonts. So I'm just double clicking my title of that artboard over here on my right hand side. I'm going to say Fonts, and I'm going to say OK. Now, you may want to move your artboards around in your space, and to do that you need to be using the Artboard tool. So if you come up to the very tippy top of your tools palette here and you see the move tool, you want to right click that and you'll see Artboard tool right there. So this means that you're in the space to edit your mood boards, and there's a lot of cool things you can do here. First of all, I can change the width and height and color of my current artboard that's already been created. If I just go up to the top here and let's say I want to make my artboard wider, so I'm going to change the width to 2500 and it bumps it a little bit wider. You can do whatever you like in that space to kind of change the shape of things if you like. I'm going to go back to 2000 though and keep it at a square. And then another thing that's really cool to do is if I zoom out here, you'll notice, I'm sure, that we've got some little circles with plus symbols in them here. Now, if I want to create multiple artboards, I like them lined up kind of in a grid, I can actually just click these plus buttons here and go up left and right in any direction and create a bunch of different artboards, whichever direction I decide to click this button. I'm going to go back and just keep our first one here. But that's one way that you can kind of edit some artboards. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a new artboard that's just off to the side here. I'm going to rename this, I'm just going to call it Colors for now. I'm going to call this Colors. And then what I might want to do, or what you may find yourself wanting to do, is move your artboard totally someplace else within your workspace, but maybe you don't really want it lined up with the grid, or maybe you don't care, maybe you don't mind, or maybe you want more space in between each of your artboards because they are awful close together. You'll notice if I'm pressing this button and I'm putting these artboards up above here, it does kind of encroach upon the artboard title. So what you can do actually is, and I'm moving my space around once I get zoomed in just by holding the space bar here and dragging around, just in case any of you folks needed to know. And I'm going to hold Control and I'm going to grab the title of my artboard, and I can actually position this wherever I want. And you'll notice the grids kind of snap into place too. So if I just want this not as close, but I still want it lined up, I can do that. And my grids will come in. It'll show me that I've got my my stuff kind of lined up there. Maybe I want to add another one. I'm going to hold control on this one. I'm going to drag that out, and I can position this however I want. I can put this down here if I want, however I feel. So that's how you can kind of organize an interesting collection of artboards to start kind of populating your file with all of your reference and things you're going to be needing for the upcoming challenges. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of jump back to my starter file that I've showed you, and you'll notice that there's some different elements in here, and I'm going to kind of go through my own process for how I love to prep for a project. Now one thing that I want to point out is the coming projects that we're going to be working in for the challenges is what I'm preparing for here. Like I said, these are going to be themed for superheroes and supervillains. So when it comes to creating your artboard, all of ours are going to look pretty darn different. You folks can use the fonts that I supplied. You folks can use the colors that I supplied, but I urge you all to do a little bit of research and find some colors that you prefer. If you're going to go the villain route, which I probably will, I'm not going to lie, I'm sure you guys all saw that coming. Big mystery. But I'm going to go and kind of change around some of the colors, and I can add more colors. You can add more colors. You can do less colors if you want, if you're kind of maybe more limited palette kind of person. It's really up to you what you do for this. But I'm going to go through and I'm going to start adding some new things to my new file here to kind of bring it up to the same level that this one is for all of you folks who may be starting your own file, or for any folks in chat today who maybe have a hard time breaking away from the lineup of the starter file. I know that can be a little daunting as well. If somebody gives you a file to use, you may feel like you have to stick with exactly what I give you, but you guys really can change this in whatever way you see fit. I'm also going to take a look at the chat real quick to make sure that you guys are getting questions answered and things. Hawa says, can you change the size of additional artboards? Yes, you can. So when I change the size of this artboard here, all I have to do is make sure over here on this right side that I've selected the proper artboard. And if you have the artboard tool selected, you'll know which one that you're on, even if you're not looking over here, because you'll see that all of these buttons appear around the artboard you have selected. So I added that colors artboard. And if I want to change, maybe I want to make it wider and shorter, I can come up here to width and height up at the very top in the bar here, which you will see if you have your artboard tool selected. And maybe I want to change this to 3000 pixels wide, and maybe I want to change it to only 1000 pixels high. Maybe I want to do that. Maybe I'm going to line my colors up like I did in this starter file, but I only want room for a couple little bars of color. Maybe that's how I want to do that. And maybe I want to add another one that's about that same size and shape, just like that. And maybe I'll grab my control and I will make sure it's lined up and bump it down like that. And I can start arranging that way. So yes, you can definitely change the size and orientation of artboards after you already create them, no matter which artboards you're on. I will say the only thing to maybe keep in mind, depending on the system you're using, is once you start creating tons and tons of artboards that are super, super large, you may need to worry about the performance of your system. But my system's pretty beefy, so I can add a bunch of different boards. If you try to add boards that are all large sizes like the ones that I have in the starter file, or you try to make them larger than the ones that I'm using today, you can still achieve a large amount of artboards in one file if you just bust down the size of them a little bit. I can't guarantee that that is going to be the best course of action for you if you start seeing performance issues, because I am not a troubleshooter by any means, but just a point of advice. That's what's helped me in the past when I started adding tons and tons of things into one area and made everything like a pretty large size. So keep that in mind as you're going through your work process today. So let's see, I'm going to jump in. How do you get it not to scroll all over when you want to increase the size of just your image on the artboard? I couldn't make it just stay on my image. Well, we're about to add some colors, so we can kind of jump in to that a little bit. I'm going to zoom in here. First, I'm making sure that my colors board is selected because that's what I'm going to be editing. And when I zoom in and out of my artboard, all I'm doing is I'm holding control and I'm pressing the plus and minus keys on my keyboard. It's a little shortcut for you. So if I want to add some colors here, typically what I like to do is use the shape tool to create some rounded boxes and then change the colors of those shapes. So I'm going to say Control Shift N to make a new layer, and I'm going to say enter. You can call this whatever you want. I could call this color 1 if I want to. I don't know if I'll keep that name, but I'll do that. And I'm actually going to drop that into my artboard here. So you'll notice you have layers within an artboard. Okay, so if I am trying to work on the layers that are here, but I start sketching around on my other artboard, first of all, it's not going to show up here because it's not within that artboard, and second of all, it's not going to show up over here on the other artboard because it's not attached to that artboard. So if you start sketching around or adding things to artboards and you notice they're not coming up, you may have an issue over here on the right with it not being attached to the proper board. So make sure that your layers are attached where they need to be. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to my little shape tool. I'm going to right click and get a rounded rectangle tool. I'm going to draw out a little rectangle or a little square. I'm holding shift to keep that aspect ratio. And as soon as I create that, my properties panel comes up. I can come in here and I can grab a color. Maybe I want like kind of a sinister red and say okay, and that works for me. Now maybe I can call this, let's see, I'll just call this red, because since I did make I did make a layer there, and I could have sketched in that layer, but since I've made a shape, it's made a shape layer for me. So I'm going to just call this red. Maybe I'll call this red 1 just in case I want a brighter red. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say Control J to duplicate that red. I'm going to say Control T and I'm going to drag this over like so. And then what I can do is I can hit enter. I can open my properties again. And if you don't see your properties, you can always go up to Window, and you can select your properties panel from Window, and then you can arrange it wherever you like. And I'm gonna, in this properties panel, I'm gonna choose, like I said, a lighter red color. Maybe I want like kind of a blood red color in this color palette as well. And I'm gonna double click this and I'm gonna call this red 2. Just to organize. So you can see how I start to kind of get some colors together on that artboard. Now, maybe on my fonts area over here, I'd like to start adding some fonts. I've got a couple fonts that I think are pretty cool that I've chosen. I'm going to tell you what they are so that if you folks want to use them, you can. But I'm going to collapse this, my little colors, artboard here, and I'm going to zoom in over here and just focus on my fonts artboard. So I'm going to select that. I'm going to hit T on my keyboard to open my text tool, and I'm going to click here and I'm going to just say in caps, I'm going to say villains. Boom. And I'm going to open that. So my fonts was collapsed there so you couldn't see it, but I do, since I was selected on my artboard and I clicked over here to use my text, it did put that in my little drop down for my fonts thing here. So you cannot see the name of the artboard. You may need to zoom in order to see the name of your artboard, because as you zoom out, sometimes it can be smaller or larger, or if you've got your thing kind of zoomed in, it may just be hidden up above. If you want to hit the space bar and hold it down and drag it around, you can kind of look at the top corner of your artboard. You can also look in your layers panel here for that. I'm going to Control T on this text here, and I'm going to make it larger. And I'm using Montserrat right now, which I think is really cool. And what I've been doing is I've just been duplicating and kind of dropping this down. I think I spelled villains right. If I didn't spell villains right now, I'm going to be very upset. But I think I spelled it right. Yeah, okay, I spelled it right. That would be embarrassing. I'm gonna come into Montserrat. So I put black down, which I think is probably one of my favorite styles for Montserrat. I can also do like a medium, which is kind of fun. And what I do is I just make kind of a list of all of the different ones I want to use. And that's kind of how I just start building stuff. You guys can make another board like I did in the starter file where I named it reference. And if I open the reference and I just hide that info, you can start dropping images in there. I did grab an image that I thought was interesting. I just thought this was fun. So I can copy this and I can come in and start to paste it. Actually, let me make sure I'm selected on my reference. And I can paste it and I can control transform or free transform that. And I can start dropping images that I want to use as reference for the coming projects into my images section. And that is how I create kind of a mood board. So I hope that you folks enjoyed kind of a quick tutorial on how I create mood boards, how you can create mood boards, and I can't wait to see what you folks post. So definitely join the Discord and post what you create in there. And remember, you are using all of this info to prepare for the coming project. So choose some stuff that you're definitely going to enjoy designing with. Thank you all for joining me. I really appreciate you being here and watching the show, and I will see you tomorrow bright and early at 9 a.m. Pacific time. Adios, folks.